Alright, boys and girls, tonight on this episode of Working on a Snowfleet, we have my 1983 8163B Gravely. Two main problems I'm having with this, and it's all electrical. The key switch doesn't always shut the tractor off easily. Sometimes you gotta monkey around, get it to shut off. And also, I got some bad battery connections going on. I actually rope started it to get it over here. But as you can see, it's very janky connections, so see if it's actually working now. It would not turn over earlier, so it shows you how crappy the connections are. So I'm going to pull the hood off, change the key switch, because I don't know if the terminals line up exactly. This key switch will work for this tractor, but it's I don't know if the letters match up, if you know what I mean. Like if the magneto's in the right place and starts in the right place. So I gotta look at that with the old switch. And otherwise, really about it. I'm gonna check the oil and everything. This is my main spare blower tractor. Basically, if something happens to the 16G, I walk over and I start this tractor and I get on and I start snow blowing. This tractor is not as fast. The blower is 6 inches narrower, but guess what? It'll still get the job done just fine. This used to be my main blower tractor. First rider I ever bought that actually ran too. 83. Bought it with the front drive kit and 40-inch commercial mower. God, that was 2012 when I started working, or 2013, one of the two. But anyhow, getting off subject, but I used to put the cab on this tractor and all kinds of stuff. It's always been a good tractor. I've had very minimal problems with it over the years. The only thing I have had go out on this was a starter solenoid, and I put a new fuel pump on it and an air cleaner. I've changed the oil a handful of times. I've changed the transmission oil a couple times. The PTO clutch in this kind of drags, is the best way to put it. So you kind of got to be mindful, like if you want to leave it running and change attachments. I don't, because I know it does it, but every once in a while the PTOs stick engaged, just for a little bit. You give it 30 seconds, it'll pop out. So, anywho's, I'm going to pull this out here, look at the battery connections. I don't remember if this was a new battery. I don't think so. I put this battery in up at the fair while I was sitting up there. This was another battery from the old place I worked. But I haven't had the charger on it or nothing. It come out and it cranked all of a sudden. That tells me it's just the battery connections. I mean, just look at them. They're very corroded. So, we'll check the acid in the battery, key switch, we'll go from there. Alright. Got a mixture of Phillips and 7/16. Great. Just great. So this is what I have to work with, and I just wrote this down on a piece of paper because it's going to be a whole lot easier to read than the key switch for you guys. But on the old switch we have A, M, R, B, S. A is accessory for, like, say, headlights, or sometimes I'll put the voltage regulator to that. M is magneto. R is regulator or voltage regulator. B is battery, and S is start. So, from there we go over here, and we have L, which stands for lights, G, which stands for ground, B, which stands for battery, S, which stands for start, and M, which stands for magneto. So, as you guys can see, they is different. They is like polar opposites. So, in order to make this work, I'm going to have to switch all the wires around, and I got to see because I'm assuming this switch does not pull ground off the case, which I'm assuming this one was because there is no G. But I've been looking it over pretty good because that is definitely... Focus, focus, come on. Focus, focus, there you go. Sort of. I think you guys saw it for a second, but that is definitely an A. Alright, hold on. I'm going to set you guys somewhere so it'll focus on this. A little more light on the subject, maybe? Sometimes this blue light helps, sometimes it hinders you. Okay, you guys can see the A right there. If you look down through the center, you might be able to see the M. I'm not sure on that one. Some of these are just hard to get in and read, being honest with you guys. You can see the R. I can see the R real clear. There you go. Sorry, my hand's shaking. There's the R. They're just hard to see with the camera. That's why I wrote them down for you guys. But guys, I'll kind of just have to take my word for it. I think you guys can see that one there. Top right. Magneto. Yep. So what I'm gonna have to do here is obviously the S needs switched down here. The Magneto I could probably actually leave alone because G for ground is fine, I think. Unless it's pulling ground through the case, and then that won't work and have to go down to M. So I don't know. I'm just gonna have to play with it and see what it does here. But the S has to go up where the battery was. Battery has to go over. The A and L basically to me are the same thing, so that will not hurt. But I have to make sure the diode or the voltage regulator in this, this is a diode with a 3 amp trickle charge on a Briggs. I have to make sure that that is on the L here. B has to be B. So otherwise, it's plain as mud, right? Right. So, because actually, I'm only using 4 wires, and I'm not even using the accessory. No, I'm only using 3 wires here. Basically, all this key switch does is start the tractor and shut it off. So, relatively speaking, it shouldn't be too bad. There is just some little tabs. Basically, the tab is right down in there. If you take a screwdriver, a thin flathead screwdriver, and put down in there, it'll release the tab, and you can pull it out of the back and put it where you need to. So, I'm going to do that. And I might as well move the Magneto where the Magneto needs to be on this for this switch, just to you know, make it simple, make sure it'll work. Worst comes to worst, I can add a ground wire and ground it to the battery or the frame right here, and you know, go for broke and make sure everything works. So rather than show you guys that tedious work and me stabbing myself 6 times, I'll just bring you guys back for the glamour shot. Okay? Okay. So, I could hear some of you guys complaining in the background, so I figured there's only 3 wires. I'll just show you guys. But I already got one out. Pretty much, hopefully you guys are in frame here, but see this little tab? That's all that keeps that from coming out of the connector. So what you do after you pull it out, is bend the tab back up a little bit. When you push it back in, it'll go in and catch. This one up here I got a little overzealous with. Hey, what's shorting the 2 wires together while the battery's still hooked up? Luckily I did that with the starter wire and the battery wire. See, this is why you're supposed to unhook the battery, kids. Don't do like me. It's also why, generally speaking, don't show you guys working on stuff, because you always get the comments, I can't believe you did it like that. Look, I did it again. You think I'd learn from the first time? Nope. So what we're going to do with the Magneto one is we're going to instantly put it back so we don't touch it to the other two. So according to our handy diagram that I have laying up here in the dash, the Magneto goes to the lower plug, push it in, and they hook. Alright, so the red wire is battery. Looking at the key switch, like so, battery needs to be on the right side, bottom plug. Okay, and then the start wire needs to be on the left side, bottom plug. Now, if you've done everything correctly, I always like to do the spark test, just kind of touch them. There is a fuse in line, but you screw up that ignition module, you screw up that ignition module. So, if something like this going on, you definitely want to be prepared to shut it down in case it doesn't ground. So, I got the handy ground wire here right off the battery I can put to the Magneto to kill it if I have to. So, we'll see if she'll start, boys. See if she'll start, see if she'll shut off. So, with the key switch in the dash, it'll shut off. Because the switch has to be grounded. So, and that's why they have the extra ground wire in here, which I may utilize that and add a ground wire conveniently over to right here, because it's not going to be hard to add it. And I really hope you guys were in frame, because I'm sure not doing that again. I think you were. So, I'm going to put the key switch back in the dash. I'm going to add a ground wire just for peace of mind. I'm going to fish this around like that whenever I go to do it. But, it's that simple, guys. It's not rocket science. But you have to, when you get a new switch, check and make sure the terminals line up. And if they don't, make sure you're able to make them work. Because that's only 2 different key switches. There is legit. I would wager, how many different terminals can you have on 5 prongs? But as you guys can see, there's all different letters they used and everything. You have to know what they stand for. And this isn't throwing battery ignition systems into the loop. In battery ignition systems, they put power to the ignition coil, and they will, generally speaking, have a I terminal, which stands for ignition. And that is the only terminal that gets power other than the start while it is in the start position. So like if you wire it to, say, like the headlights or the accessory or the voltage regulator, a lot of times the tractor won't start until you let off the key switch. And that's what's wrong. So, that's going to be my 2 cents on key switches tonight. And I'm going to put this back in the rest of the way and we'll be good to go. Was that line in there the whole time, guys? Why don't you guys say something? Okay. Anyhow, this is why it pays dividends to hoard parts. So I'm going to triple make sure the ground is over here, which it is. little connector, a little catch needs to go up in this case. And this wire even has the perfect end to plug on right here. So now, I'm going to plug her in. Should go on. Beautiful. Double check, but I have the headlights wired up direct to the battery from what I remember. Yep. Headlights work. I don't know if it's charging or not. I did buy a fancy new multimeter. I was actually out of Harbor Freight meters that didn't work. You guys know how that goes. But basically at this point, screw her in the dash and we'll be good to go. Before you guys ask, yes, I did clean up the battery connections off camera. Just not this one. The other one. This one works. Don't touch it. That'll get you guys fired up. So hopefully you boys will be able to see this. But one small miscalculation in my plan just doesn't fit. Have no fear. I got a tool to remedy that. Just bought this. Not wound up in the ignition wires, huh? Oh, for Pete's sakes. Just needed a tip. Oh, ha ha, perfect. I'm glad I spent the $10 on that. Look how easy that was. Where's my nut? Huh? So, put the key straight up and down. Pet peeve of mine. Do you guys like the air quotes lock washer on top or below? Leave it in the comment section. The other switch, I believe it was below, but in all honesty, as long as it turns on and off, starts the tractor, I don't care. So, get out the universal ignition switch tightener. Come on. You're an old. And click. Perfect. I mean, you can triple check your work, but if really putting a switch in the dash made it not work, probably got some problems anyhow. Beautiful. Alright, boys and girls, put the hood back on and check the oils over and grease her up and be ready for another winter season. Ho ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho.